Chapter 8. Being in such an unusual predicament so far outside her comfort zone, it would have been expected for a pony such as Octavia to react with stammering exclamations and embarrassed chuckles. But if the sleepy brain was one thing, it was relaxed. When she awoke in an unfamiliar-feeling bed, she simply yawned and tried to return to sleep. This pony's hours were up, though, and the longer she kept her eyes shut, the more they wanted to open. Her senses returned slowly, emerging from the deep, warm depths of sleep, hearing the sound of a busy city, tasting a few stray hairs that made her scrunch her nose in disgust, smelling sweat and spice and alcohol, touching a large heat pillow, seeing the white unicorn sleeping next to her. Octavia would remember the moment as being akin to seeing a spider skitter across the floor, complete with the impulse to jump back and scream and so forth. But the truth was a lot less terrifying. "Oh dear," she mumbled. Vinyl's glasses were askew, revealing her closed eyes for the second time in recent memory. The events of last night came rushing back, bringing the cellist completely out of her sleepy daze. Upon glancing at the unicorn with clear eyes, she couldn't help but giggle at her friend's disheveled state. Sitting up, she reached out a hoof and tentatively brushed some of the DJ's unruly blue mane out of her face. From a completely objective standpoint, Vinyl was really quite pretty. In a moment of bravery, Octavia plucked the purple shades from the end of the white pony's nose, leaving her face bare. Breathing softly, Vinyl projected an air of openness that the cellist had not seen. This was her. Just her. In her own home, completely unguarded, with no acts or personas, no purple-tinted shades to hide behind. Vinyl Scratch. Octavia's breath hitched at the sight. If only she could draw. If only she could capture the image forever and ever. But part of her knew that to record such a moment would be to strip away everything that made it unique. Instead, the cellist did the next best thing. Embrace it. She let the rush of emotions flow over her body and through the air around them. This was their moment. One that could never be taken from them or replaced. A single, defining experience that... Ring, 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 ring! "Oh, for the love of..." hissed Octavia, ripping her phone from the pouch still strapped to her hips. "Can't I have just one moment of artistic reflection? Who is this? What do you want?" "Is that how the university is teaching you to speak to your mother?" Her face dropped, and she quickly climbed over Vinyl and onto the floor. Remarkably, the DJ didn't even stir. Mother? No, Mother, I'm sorry. How are you?" Searching desperately, she scrambled for her bow tie before remembering it was back in her dorm. Being completely unclothed and messy made her feel about as unprepared for a chat with her mother as possible. "Spare me the inane pleasantries, Octavia. I think we both know why I'm calling." The voice on the other end sounded just as stern and commanding as she remembered. The cellist spared a glance for her sleeping friend, but there was no other option. This phone call would turn ugly if Vinyl woke up halfway through. I'm afraid I don't know. Is something wrong?" "Something is indeed wrong. I spoke to a friend of mine who works at the university. He's a groundskeeper, a stout old chap." Slipping out the door and closing it softly behind her, Octavia quickly descended the stairs. "Well, he certainly sounds very interesting, Mother, but what does he have to do with this?" "When you insisted on staying in one of those hovels, I knew I had to take a few precautions. You are still a little naive and suggestible, for all your talent. The groundskeeper was acquired and given a new purpose, to make sure you got home every night." She shoved through the ground floor doors and stared at the first pedestrian she saw, a young school colt who immediately changed course. "You've been spying on me?" she exclaimed, scaring a mare waiting at a carriage stop. "Don't go making this bigger than it is. Mares your age can often get sidetracked by silly pursuits such as romance and friendship. Those things are merely tools that you can use to advance in the world. Nothing more." Octavia started trotting faster in the direction of the university, a whole new appreciation for what Vinyl had to deal with every time she had a class began. But it was not enough to distract her from fury. "I can't believe you. So all that speech about independence and standing on my own four hooves you gave me on the day I left was completely meaningless, was it? Oh, here you are, going off on one of your melodramatic tantrums, and you wonder why I'm so protective. You're not as capable as you seem to think, Octavia, and the call I received from the groundskeeper proves it. You didn't make it home after your odd early morning excursion." The cellist resisted the urge to scream. "He watches me while I'm asleep?" "Of course not. Don't be silly. He merely checks the campus security camera footage every morning. Now, explain yourself. Did you spend the night in somebody else's bed?" She could almost feel the intense stare through the phone. There was a sense of sick desperation in her forced chuckle. I don't understand. You understand perfectly well. Tell me the truth." Yes, I did, but it's not... Octavia, after everything I've taught you, you do something like this only after 5 weeks. I swear, I didn't... She's my friend. I was helping her... She? The line went dangerously silent. Heavy breathing distorted her mother's voice. "Are you saying what I think you're saying, young lady?" "She was drunk and lost in the city, so I helped her get home. She let me stay at her place, but we didn't do anything. I swear." "Are you certain?" "Yes, I'm certain." "So, you're not..." "Yes, no, I'm not... Believe me, I'm not." That was more of a vinyl scratch voice. "Believe me, I'm not." "Good. I taught you better than that, at least. But still, I'm very disappointed in you. Don't risk your safety like that again, especially not for some low-life drunk." "She's not a low-life, Mother. She's my friend," Octavia replied quietly. "My first friend." The satisfaction of silence was short-lived. "Bah! We'll see how long that lasts. Be a good filly and just get to class." Call ended. Octavia quickly returned her phone to her pouch to avoid stomping it into the sidewalk. Every single conversation with that insufferable pony ended like this. Constant insults and belittlement, all shred of control and independence ripped away in a matter of minutes, leaving her feeling like a ridiculous little filly. Tears threatened to spill down her cheeks as she waved a carriage over. When she climbed aboard, the first one dripped onto the wooden floor, and she tried to rub them away. The driver turned around and peeked into the carriage. It was a small one, only meant for 2 ponies, and it had no roof. "Where to, darling?" he drawled. "West Manhattan University, please." "Righto, is everything okay?" The concern in his voice made her heart warm. Not all ponies are bad. She had to remind herself of that. Octavia gave him a weak smile. "I'll be all right, but thanks for asking." He nodded and began to move. They rumbled down the road to the sound of city life. Shouting and chatting, laughter and anger, and as she listened, the cellist felt her own sadness trickle away. There were only so many other ponies around her, all with their own problems and worries, and all of them were probably more serious than an argument with their mother. It was a rush of perspective, and it was exactly what she needed. Taking a deep breath, she dabbed at her eyes and tried to fix her mane. She would need a shower and proper grooming session once she got home, but for now it was acceptable. With a start, Octavia realized she didn't have any bits on her. Sir, I'm sorry, but I forgot. I don't have any money." The tiny carriage didn't pause for a second. "Then you're lucky I'm a sucker for crying mares. No charge for you." Now that surprised her. There was being a kind and chivalrous pony, and then there was purposely wasting time that could be used making money. No, I can't let you do that. Stop. I'll walk the rest of the way." "Nope. You're gonna enjoy the free ride." "Are you sure? You could be taking some pony else right now." "Missy, if my carriage gets you anywhere away from the source of your tears faster, it'll be worth it." His dark brown coat glistened with sweat. Thank you," was all she could say. Such random generosity had been absent from her life until that moment. He had nothing to gain from helping her. He wasn't trying to buy, manipulate, or otherwise benefit from it. He was simply acting out of the goodness in his heart. Now that was something her mother had never taught her about. Line break. Pain. Glorious, horrible pain. Beams of light raked against her skull via her eyes, pounding and throbbing to the beat of consequence. "Never again," croaked the DJ. She lay there, wrapped in a cocoon of misery, wishing for anything to end her suffering. As usual, the deities that were supposed to help hungover ponies were probably sleeping off their own intoxication, and thus had no time to ease her pain. Part of her wanted to sit up and try to force her body to get over it through sheer willpower, but the feeling in her throat meant that would be a very short-lived attempt. It seems as though, once again, the only solution was to suffer. In the midst of her sluggish mind, Vinyl wondered why she had never looked into finding a spell that got rid of, or prevented entirely, hangovers. The answer was as clear as it was frustrating. When she wasn't hungover, she didn't care. And so she groaned and moaned and swore at the sun, rolling back and forth while trying to push herself deeper into the bed. An eternity later, she raised her head. A few more eternities later, she sat up completely, marveling at the rotary capacity of her room. Eventually, she slid from the bed and dropped to the ground. The first thing she looked for was her glasses. They were tinted for a reason, after all, and when she put them on, the light was dulled and her headache eased slightly. The shower was next, and she let the warm water wash away all the sweat and dirt that had somehow formed in her sleep. Even the purple shades got a nice clean, so when she stepped out and dried herself, they sparkled with the devilish flare that she loved. Slowly, the world stopped being horrible, and a degree of normalcy returned. Vinyl heard a faint buzzing sound, and cast her eyes around for the offending mobile. It was amongst the sheets, the cushioning muffling its message tone. 3 new messages. Octavia. Sorry for leaving. My mother called and I didn't want to wake you up. Wake up, sleepyhead. You're going to miss your second lecture if you don't hurry. Oh, horse feathers. Lectures, university. Those things still existed despite her bad start of the day. Well, she wasn't going to go to them anyway. She had something else to do. Wait. Octavia had been here? Oh, man. The DJ attempted to organize her thought. Where was she last night? Shady. She went drinking with Shady. Vinyl remembered arriving at the bar, laughing and dancing with the drink floating before her, and the stallion's hoof around her waist, but that was it. After that, there were just blurry images and sensations punctuated with an oddly serene voice. Come on, then. Let's get you out of here. She flicked through her phone, looking for call history. As she suspected, a single call had been made at about 3 a.m, to Octavia. Oh, Celestia, please tell me I didn't do anything stupid. Some part of Vinyl remembered the text she had inspected moments ago. The cellist didn't seem angry. In fact, there was a smiley face in the second image. What did that mean? Had something good happened? Like what? Her mind prompted. Nothing. She moved on, latching on to the next hazy memory. The lectures, the plan, everything was still salvageable. If she moved quickly, it was still mid-morning. So Octavia would be in her music theory lecture. That left about an hour for Vinyl to get all of her belongings to the campus and into her new room. This was going to be close. Checking her phone was becoming something of a nervous habit. It didn't help that the lecturer, a pudgy mare with too much makeup on, seemed to be under the weather, accentuating each sentence with a wet, hacking cough. For once, the cellist regretted sitting at the front of her class. Not only was she in germ zone, but it made indulging her new habit feel that much more shameful. Surely, Octavia thought, she must be considered quite a rude student, pulling her phone out every few seconds. Yes, the other students did it too, but they were all sitting at the back of the room, far from the mare's sight. All she wanted was to see the little flash of light and those big words telling her that bzzz. The earth pony snatched her phone up almost violently. Message from Vinyl. Hey, I'm awake. Sorry if I did anything dumb last night. I can't remember much. Finally! You're going to miss half of your lecture now, and don't worry, you are no different than usual while intoxicated. Finally, now I can focus on taking notes. Picking up her pen between her teeth, she took a moment to peruse the mind-numbing paragraph-length dot points that were arrayed on the projector screen. This week they were apparently studying one of the greatest yet underappreciated composers in history. Well, at least until they died. Octavia found that a bit sad. That their worth wasn't realized until it was gone forever, but also a bit inspiring, that even if her own music wasn't popular or liked during her life, there was still hope that some future classical music enthusiasts would see her merit. As engaging as she found the idea, it was still incredibly boring to write about. Most of it she had known for years, and the notes she jotted down would never be read because of that. But she wrote them anyway, if only to distract her from other things. An idle mind can be quite a nuisance sometimes. Another glance at her phone revealed that the lecture was drawing to a close anyway, so she started packing away her things in advance. As expected, the last couple of slides were just reiterating information they knew by heart. Yes, his first attempt at very professional composing came out in that year, obviously. Yes, he was publicly denounced by the musical associations of those times. Everybody knew that. The only thing Octavia didn't know about this class was why it seemed to think she was a little filly picking up a bow for the first time. Honestly, if a pony made it to this class at all, it would be assumed that they'd know a little bit about musical theory and which prominent figures influenced the modern system. Sighing with relief, Octavia slid out of her chair and took her leave as the lecturer coughed her way through a side door. The smile that had been gracing her lips all day returned in full force. It had been a rather emotional few hours after that horrid call from her mother, and though the kindness of the carriage driver did much to ease her mind, there was always going to be thoughts and worries rattling around in the back of her head like loose screws. Thankfully, it was only a short trip to her dorm. There were like mini apartment buildings, 2 stories with 6 rooms on each, and 2 ponies to a room. In total, there could be a maximum of 24 students to each building, though there were only 17 or so in hers currently. Well, that was going to change soon. A roommate was going to be moving in any day now, for better or for worse. As she climbed the stairs, Octavia heard hushed voices in the hallway above. Before she could investigate, a light blue Pegasus dropped down in front of her, blocking the way up. "Hello," she said cheerfully. Hello there." The cellist felt rather awkward for a moment, but then her demeanor brightened. "Oh, are you my new roommate?" "Nope, I've been here for ages." The ice blue eyes sparkled with untempered happiness. That also kind of sounds like my vinyl scratch voice. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Do you think I could go past? It's been a long day." The gray mare made to step around the other pony, but was quickly blocked by a sidestep. "Wait! I have something to ask you first." Raising a hoof to motion for her to go ahead, Octavia's ears twitched at the sound of something heavy thudding on her floor. The absolute last thing she felt like doing was helping this mare with homework, but she forced herself to be patient. "How do you spell stalling? It's been bugging me all day." "Stalling. Perhaps you should invest in a dictionary," she answered, trying to step to the right of the blonde-maned Pegasus, who darted in front of her once again. "Thanks so much. What about delaying?" That smile was starting to get a little frustrating. Further thuds echoed from above, plucking at her curiosity cords. "Delaying. If you would excuse me, impending? Impeding. I really must... What about hindering? I don't mean to be rude, but these are questions that you could easily direct towards a book, which doesn't need sleep. Let me past," she ordered, pushing forward irritably. With 2 flaps, the mare fluttered out of the way and let Octavia storm with the last few steps. Finally, she trotted down the hallway and pushed her door open, ignoring calls from behind asking her to stop. A stack of cardboard boxes and a pile of technical equipment. A computer sitting amongst a tangle of wires on the second desk. A bootstrap mixing table set up in the center of the room. A white unicorn peeking sheepishly at her from inside a half-sealed cardboard box. Hey, roomie!" Alright, and that's chapter 8. How long is this? Alright, we're at 18 minutes now. We could go for chapter 9. It's got less words than this one. So, here we go. Chapter 9. "How did you..." spluttered the cellist. "Spoke to the student coordinator," replied the DJ as she climbed out of the box. "But you... told you not to do that because it was unlikely she'd let us move in together?" "When did... Carried my stuff across town about an hour ago. I've never used so much magic at once in my life." She gave a slightly breathless chuckle, and Octavia noticed beads of sweat clinging to her white coat. "Wow, I feel great!" The unicorn made it to take a few steps closer, but stumbled, and the cellist rushed forward to catch her. The sound of fluttering wings came closer, followed by a thud in the doorway. "Sorry, Vinyl," said the light blue Pegasus. "I held her as long as I..." Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get the door." She quickly pulled it closed before either of them could explain. Further muffled apologies came through the thin door, getting quieter as the odd Pegasus retreated. Vinyl seemed to have accepted the fact that she could no longer stand, happily going slack in Octavia's hooves. "This is cool. Isn't this cool?" "Okay, I wasn't aware that overexerting magic made unicorns delirious," muttered the cellist, half dragging her friend over to the freshly made bed beneath the window. "I feel pretty good about things," the DJ informed her, nodding her head sagely as she was placed gently upon the covers. "That's nice, Vinyl," giggled Octavia as she turned back to unpack the rest of the white pony's possessions. The mare in question let out a low chuckle as she did so. "You should walk away from me more often." "Get some sleep, you silly pony, lest I start writing down what you say so I can bring it up later." Sure enough, within a few minutes the room was flooded with soft snoring. Octavia rolled her eyes and dug into the nearest box. Unsurprisingly, she emerged with a stack of pristine records, neatly stored in transparent cases and labeled with delicate consistency. After going through a second and third box and finding nothing but more records, the cellist became exasperated. "Did you even bring any clothes or personal items?" she asked irritably. It didn't help that the only answer was in the form of a particularly loud snore. Deciding to shake the next box before opening it, she was delighted to hear the sound of small objects sliding around. "If this isn't her personal belongings, I'll eat my bow tie." Sure enough, inside there were a number of little gadgets and miscellaneous objects. Of notable interest was her phone. A small, easily concealed thing was as common to unicorns who rarely needed to physically touch their mobiles. She rolled it between her hooves and it activated, seemingly welcoming her touch. Octavia glanced at the sleeping unicorn cautiously, then let a little smile creep onto her face. "Can't hurt to see how many contacts is considered normal. I won't look at any messages, though, not unless my hoof slips." Her eyes widened as the names began to scroll. Oh my. There were hundreds. Although some were named "That Dude with the Goatee" and "Red-Maned Mare," there were still a great many with proper titles, far more than the Grey Mare had anticipated. Compared to her own meager list of 3 numbers, Vinyl, her mother, and emergency services, she felt like an inexperienced player in a complex game. Oh dear, I've accidentally opened her recent texts. Strangely enough, aside from some pony called Shady Sex Bomb, she was the only pony Vinyl had texted in the last couple of weeks. Where are all her invitations? Does she call them instead of texting? That seemed like the most likely answer, but Octavia resisted the urge to look through recent calls. What if she's as bored and lonely as I am? Oh, thanks Celestia she found a way to have us share a room. Things were looking up. Curiosity satisfied for the moment, she carefully placed the various keepsakes and such upon Vinyl's desk. There was still a lot of unpacking to do, not to mention some shuffling of the furniture. A mixing table really shouldn't sit in the center of the room. The DJ awoke to the soft, deep, reverberating tones of a cello somewhere to her right. Raising her head a few inches, a magnificent scene revealed itself. There, sitting on the bed opposite her, half covered in the speckled orange glow of sunset shining through rain, was Octavia. Eyes closed, absorbed in her work, hoof gently guiding the bow across the strings, she struck a memorable sight. And in the waking days of the sleepy DJ's mind, that sight became positively angelic. Now, here's the thing, though, right? Like, she's not a unicorn. How does she hold her... Horse hooves are flat. How do they hold things? She can't hold a phone. She can hold it with her mouth, but if it's in her mouth, she can't talk. She can't hold a bow. She can hold it in her mouth, but if it's in her mouth, she can't play the low notes on the cello. That is, of course, assuming she can hold the cello with her hooves, which she can't. I need explanations. Octavia is secretly a unicorn. Gasping, the unicorn finally remembered to breathe, and in doing so unintentionally alerted the subject of her fascination. Huh? The amethyst eyes flickered open and trained themselves on Vinyl. Oh, you're awake. Sorry, I always practice at sunset. I should have gone somewhere... No, croaked the DJ, clearing her throat and sitting up slightly. It's cool. Can you keep playing, please? I gotta do something. Octavia was confused, but did as she was asked, resuming the piece with the calm skill of a master. Vinyl slipped off the bed and padded across the room, giving the cellist an almost reverent berth. from that neatly stacked school supplies that had transported themselves onto her new desk, she withdrew her sketchbook and pencils. Upon seeing it, Octavia's cheeks flushed red. Vinyl, I'm not very good at—" "Shh!" hushed the white pony, positioning herself in front of her roommate as if she was in a daze. And dazed she was, now exposed completely to the musician before her. Higher thought processes escaped her, instead replaced by an insistent, congenital urge to create. Together they sat, one reciting and the other creating, in the dusk bloom. As the most perfect of moments are wont to do, it ended too soon. The sun drifted completely beneath the horizon and broke the two ponies from their mutual waking dream. Octavia lowered her bow and stretched her suddenly aching foreleg as Vinyl looked up in surprise at her odd position on the floor. "Why am I sitting here?" she muttered. Wait. "Why am I sitting here?" she muttered, climbing to her feet and cracking her neck. "You were drawing." The cellist gestured with the sketchbook, currently open on an image of a pony with a... "You were drawing me?" I guess I was. And you were playing for me." They frowned at each other. After a moment of silence, Vinyl snorted and started to chuckle. "What the heck are we doing?" She laughed even harder. "I have no idea. Not even a day of living with you, and I already feel like I've been drugged." "It's all down here from here, Philly." "Downhill from here. Down here from here. Down... It's all down... It's all downhill from here, Philly." The DJ tossed the sketchbook back onto her desk and climbed up onto the bed beside her friend. "Oh, Celestia, why did I agree to this?" "You didn't. That's why it's so awesome." She playfully jabbed a hoof onto Octavia's side, eliciting a squeak. "Oh? What's this?" Notices your bulge. A devious grin parted her lips. Nothing. Don't do that again." Saying that was practically an invitation, as the unicorn dived on the gray pony and brought her hooves in for full effect, rubbing and tickling her stomach with glee. "Ah, no! Please! Stop! No, please!" "What's that? You trailed off a bit at the end." Vinyl redoubled her efforts, despite the mere struggles and hysterical laughter. "Vinyl, I will kill you!" With a mighty buck, she rolled the two of them off the bed, narrowly missing her abandoned cello and landing with a thud on the carpet. They lay there, panting and staring at each other, almost muzzle to muzzle. One wore a silly grin, and the other tried her best to muster a fear-inspiring glare. It wasn't working, as evidenced by a lazy white hoof drifting up and poking her nose. "Boop," whispered the DJ. "You will die by my hoof," the cellist hissed back, though she couldn't help but the smile that grew across her face. "Such a nice little mare, aren't you?" "I was. You've ruined me." Vinyl let out a familiar low chuckle, but remained silent, still wearing a lopsided grin. "What?" Octavia raised an eyebrow. "Nothing." "Tell me, what's so funny?" "You probably wouldn't find it funny." Her mind raced, knowing that the other mare wasn't going to drop the issue. "Only one way to find out. Tell me." "All right, okay. I was thinking, you think you're ruined now. Just wait. This is only the beginning." "Oh, shush. I don't think you're as bad as you pretend to be." Vinyl moved slightly closer, glasses unmasking her wide eyes. "Let me show you how bad I am." "Whew," she said softly, heart pumping so hard she was afraid it might burst. Octavia followed suit, apparently interpreting the movement as conspirational rather than anything else. "How? Have you got pranks planned?" Yeah, sure." "What am I doing? Was I really trying to—" "Well, try not to include me in any of them. I'd rather stay off the university blacklist for as long as possible, though I suppose now I'm sharing with you it's an inevitability." She chuckled and brought her own hoof up to tap Vinyl's nose. "Boop." The DJ forced a laugh, her brain still reeling from certain thoughts. Yeah, pretty much." "Well, if you don't have any pranks planned for right now, we should get something to eat. All that getting tortured by you has left me famished." Octavia climbed to her hooves and helped her friend do the same. "Good idea. Anywhere in mind?" Vinyl tried to keep her tone even as she took her head to dislodge some persistent mental images. Perhaps Blues' Tavern? For nostalgia's sake. The pair shared a warm smile. Sounds like a plan. In contrast to the chilly gray streets outside, the tavern was warm and brightly lit. Ponies laughed with their friends as they let the stresses of life trickle down the sides of their mugs. A group of hard-hat-toting worker stallions had taken 3 booths, including the corner one, so Vinyl instead led her roommate to a table on the less rowdy side of the bar. I didn't even know this place served food, muttered the unicorn, floating some menus over from the bar counter. It's nothing really extravagant, but it will do. My mother took me here once, when we came to inspect the campus grounds. Yeah? Sounds like you and your mum are pretty close. Well, to some degree, I suppose. Octavia picked up one of the tall menus and hid her expression behind it. What about your parents? Idly browsing down the array of greasy foods, Vinyl shrugged. They're lame. Kicked me out as soon as I turned 18. They what? How could they do that? Pretty easily, apparently. That's horrible! Who needs them? Besides, if I hadn't got kicked out, I might not have been able to move in with you so easily. Well, still... The topic slipped away as a tall, blonde-maned stallion approached. How can I serve you? He drawled, accent offsetting his manner. Large hay fries and a deep-frying daffodil kebab, announced the unicorn, slamming her menu down with more force than was necessary. Excellent choice. And for the missus? Vinyl opened her mouth to correct him, already preparing a fake laugh to dispel the anticipated awkwardness. But Octavia spoke too quickly. I'll have a daisy salad, please. Another excellent choice. Coming right up. Marching away, the odd stallion began to whistle, completely unaware of his actions. Octavia, you know what a missus is, right? Sorry, that was the wrong voice. Octavia, you know what a missus is, right? A slang word for friend? Almost. Well, not almost. Not even close, really. The white mare couldn't help but chuckle. Well, what does it mean, then? Like, partner, as in partner. Female partner. Oh. As expected, her cheeks flushed red with embarrassment. So, now he thinks... Yep. Oh, dear. I'm very sorry, Vinyl. Is there a dictionary or something where all these slang words are defined? I seem to be making this mistake quite often. Don't worry about it. You'll get the hang of slang eventually. Should I go find that whiter and explain it? The DJ sat up instantly. No, I mean, it's not important enough to bother with, okay? All right, it was just an idea. Silence reigned for the next few minutes, punctuated only by the ambient noise around them. Octavia felt awful, and had yet to stop mentally kicking herself. Vinyl must get so frustrated with me sometimes. Why do I have to be so awkward? Thankfully, Vinyl seemed to be tactful and polite enough not to make fun of her. Whatever she had done to deserve such a tolerant roommate, it wasn't enough. A little, grateful smile at the corner of her mouth. A better best friend she couldn't have hoped for. For her part, Vinyl was busy studying the table carefully, only because she had an appreciation for well-built furniture, not because she wanted to keep her mind from wandering. It did that enough already. The giddy feeling that spread through her every time she relived that waiter calling Octavia her missus. It was a relief when the food finally arrived. They both dug in immediately, not daring to leave a moment for conversation. As her stomach slowly filled up, the DJ felt her mood improve. That was why she kept having weird thoughts. Her brain was just food-deprived. It made total sense. I'm feeling good. Want to hit up some clubs? She asked, ignoring the glances ponies threw at her from nearby tables. After dinner? That's just asking for trouble. Octavia delicately pushed her plate forward and dabbed at her lips with a napkin. Vinyl snorted. You've had half a salad. You'll be fine. Plus, we don't have to drink if you don't want to. Biting her lower lip, the cellist fiddled with her mane before shaking her head. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm honestly tempted. However, I have a history lecture tomorrow that I would rather not miss. I guess I was wrong. You're still a nice little mare. She stuck her tongue out, and the gray mare rolled her eyes. Hey, it's almost 8. We better get home in time for homework. Oh, ha ha. though I really should get started on my homework. They stood up and walked over to the counter amidst giggles. Octavia carefully began to count out each bit until Vinyl tossed a hoof full of coins onto the counter and pulled her away with a grin. Pretty impressive, huh? The DJ raised her eyebrows behind the purple shades as they walked out into the street. What was? Paying that much for the meal. I mean, I looked pretty cool, right? I suppose so. It seemed like a waste, though. You could have saved those bits for the next time we go out. A white hoof smacked into a white face. That wasn't the point. Well, what was? The simple question hung in the cold night air. Vinyl looked at the ground, studying each step. I don't know, she muttered. Together, they ambled into the welcoming darkness in which emotions could hide. And that's the end of Chapter 9. So, things are getting a bit more intimate between these two. They're getting a little steamy, getting a little stir fry. You know what I'm saying? Getting a little bit spicy. So next time we'll get chapters 10 and 11, hopefully. And if you guys want to hear me do live readings of stuff like this, there's going to be a Discord link in the description. You can come and listen to me read live. So whenever I'm doing something, you can come on by, stop, meet some other people, and just have a good time. And also, if you'd like to support me on Patreon, you can give me suggestions of things you want me to read, and I'll put them on a list of things that I need to read. Or, if you want me to watch and review a movie or something, whatever you feel like making me do, you can do it. Just donate to me on Patreon, and everybody will get what they want. I get money, you get, fan fictions. So, that'll also be in the description. Until next time, Ace Ka, still got to come up with the ender for these videos, but until next time.